No tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. We also provided 100% expensing. That's the one they like.
The European Union is facing one of the most consequential geopolitical and economic moments in recent memory. At the World Economic Forum in Davos and across multiple EU institutions and capitals, decisions being made right now are reshaping Europe's role on the world stage. A defining issue in this period is the escalating tension between the European Union and the United States over Greenland. In Davos, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen publicly described a new US tariff threat related to Greenland as a fundamental misstep. She and other EU leaders see the proposal from US President Donald Trump to impose tariffs on NATO allies that have deployed forces to Greenland, not only as economic coercion but as a challenge to sovereign rights and transatlantic cooperation. Leaders from Brussels have underscored that the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Denmark and Greenland are non-negotiable, framing the dispute as more than a trade spat but a matter of international law and alliance trust. This diplomatic strain has prompted unprecedented unity among EU member states. Heads of state from all 27 EU countries are preparing for an extraordinary meeting to coordinate their response. The European Council President has signalled that Europe will not be divided or intimidated by external pressure. Some EU officials have even begun conceptual discussions about more permanent strategic independence from the US in defence and economic policy, though they emphasise that this does not mean abandoning long-standing alliances. At the same time, European business groups and industry leaders have weighed in, describing the US demands around Greenland as unreasonable. They have called for smart and calibrated responses that defend European interests without descending into a full-blown trade war. For many in industry, the priority is maintaining economic stability and predictable markets, even in the face of rising geopolitical risks. In direct response to perceived external threats and the shifting strategic landscape, the European Commission is advancing a multi-layered initiative to strengthen security in the Arctic. This includes commitments to invest significantly in Greenland's infrastructure and economy, with the dual goal of supporting local development and reinforcing Europe's strategic presence in the north. Commission leaders have also hinted at expanding Arctic security cooperation with NATO allies and regional partners, reflecting a broader shift in European defence thinking. While the Greenland issue dominates headlines, the European Union's internal agenda reflects equally important challenges and ambitions. Within the EU's economic framework, authorities have initiated formal disciplinary procedures against Finland for exceeding budget deficit limits. Under EU fiscal rules, member states are expected to keep deficits within 3% of GDP. Finland's overshooting in consecutive years has drawn criticism, even as its elevated defence spending amid concerns about Russia's intentions is acknowledged. Brussels is demanding corrective fiscal plans to bring deficits back into compliance, setting specific expenditure growth limits through 2028. This disciplinary action underlines the tension between national budgetary autonomy and collective EU fiscal discipline. Meanwhile, the European Commission has tabled new proposals aimed at reducing reliance on technology from countries it deems high risk. While no specific nations or companies have been named, the practical effect of these proposals will likely be felt most strongly by major Chinese tech firms in sectors such as telecommunications, cloud, and critical infrastructure. The EU's move to phase out equipment from these suppliers over a 3-year period has sparked debate about balancing cybersecurity with trade freedom. China's government has criticized the plan as discriminatory and protectionist, suggesting that the proposal could trigger broader economic repercussions. This technological strategy is part of a broader quest for what Brussels terms strategic autonomy. The idea is that the EU must build greater self-sufficiency in critical sectors like digital infrastructure, semiconductors, and cybersecurity, while remaining open to global trade. Commission officials argue that previous voluntary cybersecurity measures were insufficient and unevenly applied across member states, and that a mandatory framework is needed to protect EU citizens and businesses. On the competitiveness front, Germany and Italy have co-authored a policy paper warning that without significant reforms, the European Union risks falling behind the United States and China in global markets. EU internal trade barriers, bureaucratic hurdles, and slow regulatory approvals are identified as structural weaknesses that must be addressed urgently. Their recommendations include streamlining regulatory processes, deepening integration in service and capital markets, and aggressively pursuing free trade agreements with key partners such as India and Australia. These calls for reform aim to ensure that the EU remains a dynamic economic bloc amid intensifying global competition. Economic policy debates in Brussels are unfolding alongside major trade developments. One of the most significant at this moment is the approval of a long-anticipated free trade agreement between the European Union and the Mercosur bloc of South American nations. A qualified majority of EU member states voted to approve the deal despite strong opposition from several countries, including France, Poland, and Hungary. Proponents say the agreement will open new markets for European exports, particularly in manufactured goods, and strengthen political ties with Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Critics, especially in the agricultural sector, worry about the impact of increased imports on European farmers and environmental standards. This Mercosur deal, hailed by supporters as a strategic step toward greater global integration, is part of a broader effort by the EU to expand its trade partnerships. It underscores a belief among European policymakers that engagement with fast-growing economies outside the bloc can help stimulate growth at home while projecting European influence abroad. But the controversy surrounding the deal reflects deeper divisions within the EU on how to balance liberalised trade with protection for domestic industries. Beyond trade, the European Parliament continues to push forward major legislative initiatives on energy and sustainability. Late last year, the Parliament adopted a resolution to phase out Russian natural gas imports by 2027. This policy is designed to reduce energy dependency and bolster European energy security following years of disruption caused by geopolitical tensions with Moscow. While implementation challenges remain, particularly given the diverse energy needs of member countries, the resolution signals a decisive shift toward renewable energy and diversified supplies. The EU's climate and environmental agenda also remains a pillar of its long-term strategy. The European Environment Agency recently highlighted progress in areas like bathing water quality, while underscoring ongoing challenges including noise pollution and biodiversity loss. Meanwhile, innovation funding under the Horizon Europe programme is being mobilised for missions ranging from climate adaptation to cancer prevention, demonstrating that the EU's focus on sustainability and health continues to be central to its policy framework. Regional and neighbourhood policies also reflect the EU's strategic priorities. The 2026 EU-Armenia summit scheduled for Yerevan is expected to deepen political and economic ties with this Eastern Partnership country, reinforcing Europe's commitment to its neighbours beyond its immediate borders. These engagements are part of a broader effort to strengthen stability and cooperation in regions adjacent to Europe. On the migration front, the forthcoming new Pact on Migration and Asylum is poised to reshape how member states share responsibility for hosting and processing asylum seekers. The pact aims to distribute the burden more evenly across the Union while tightening border procedures. Though its full implementation is slated for later in 2026, the debate around it continues to stir political tensions between countries that are frontline entry points and those that are more distant from migrant routes. Taken together, these developments paint a picture of a European Union at a crossroads. It is navigating heightened geopolitical competition, internal economic pressures, technological transformation, and evolving trade relationships. The Greenland dispute with the United States, while unusual and complex, has prompted deeper reflection within Europe about strategic autonomy and alliance dynamics. Economic reforms and trade agreements reflect simultaneous ambitions to open markets and protect strategic interests. And regional engagement from Armenia to broader neighbourhood relations shows an EU that is consciously extending its reach while asserting its values. In many ways, the European Union's challenge is to balance unity with diversity, openness with protection, and long-term vision with immediate pressures. Policymakers in Brussels and national capitals are acutely aware that the decisions made now will shape Europe's global role for decades. Whether in defence, trade, fiscal policy, or digital infrastructure, the EU is working to position itself as a resilient, competitive, and strategically autonomous actor on the world stage. This era of intense diplomatic engagement, economic recalibration, and strategic planning is already defining Europe's future,